Good afternoon, everybody. This is Kerry here. Welcome to the Coaches Corner here at KSPORT by KSPORT, and we're here at Glen High School, Harrell Field. We're actually here because we're visiting none other than the Ridges, who was a surprise in gym of Essex County area in the SSFE Super Football Conference last year, when they went off and won and made their first playoff championship run and bid last year with a 6-4 record last year. But the coach that guided them there is now moved on. We will be visiting him at his new location later today. But right now, we want to introduce you to their Glen Ridge's new coach, Chris Strumbolo. Strumbolo. I'm sorry, but at the same time, we like to welcome Chris to our Coaches Corner. Mr. Coach Strumbolo, thank you very much for taking the time out. I know it was very last minute for us to pop in on you yesterday, but at the same token, we wanted to make sure that we did not overlook Glen Ridge, since they were the gym of last year and they're looking to continue on that success this year. What is it about this job that attracted you to becoming the new head coach here?
Well, once I saw this job open, and I was at Caldwell University the previous 5 years, and our coach decided to walk away, and this job opened, it was very intriguing. I live right up the street in Caldwell. I've competed with Glen Ridge in the past as a high school football coach. I knew what kind of kids play for Glen Ridge. So once I saw it open, I said, let me put my name in and see where it goes. And happily, all went well, and I was offered the job, and I accepted it.
Okay, great. So you mentioned Caldwell University. That was one of the few sprint level colleges on the D2 level. Is that correct?
Yes. We're in a conference with the academies, Army, Navy, the Ivy League schools, Colgate, UPenn. So it was a program that was fairly new. I think we were in our 7th year last year. So it was a fairly new program, and it was a great experience.
And how does that transition over to being that the biggest weight that they are having is no more than 190 pounds at best?
Yes.
For all levels, all positions for that matter. But at the same time, you really got some big uns out there that really should be playing at the bigger levels.
Yes.
What is it about that program that attracted the kids to stay home and stay close to home, and also kids like here that transitions back into the high school level? How does that work?
From the school, from speaking of Caldwell University, Coach Kelly, who was the head coach there, was a great recruiter, and he found those undersized players that maybe wrestled and played football, guys that know how to manage weight, and he was able to funnel in a ton of great players in that program, whether they be linemen, undersized linemen, skill guys that all could fly.
Right.
And when you look at a program like Glen Ridge, a Group 1 school, without those big monsters, with those undersized type kids, I feel it's a good correlation, because we're not 240 across the board up front. You may get some of those guys here and there coming through the program here, but you get a similar type of kid, a hard-nosed kid, a kid that likes to play football, that loves the game, that wants to learn it and become better, and understand that you don't have to be the biggest guy to be the best guy.
Now, you also mentioned that you competed at the high school level against with Glen Ridge and against them, for that matter. What kind of background, what kind of high school background you're coming from in regards to that?
The Glen Ridge part, I was at North Central as an assistant coach and ran the offense there. So that's where all my interactions with Glen Ridge were. And we had some great games with them, usually competitive games, close games. And I've said before, it was just kids that didn't back down, whether we had bigger guys or more athletic guys. They were players at Glen Ridge that always just took that challenge and ran with it, and I loved the way they played. They played with energy, very well disciplined, and that was under Coach Mendez. That was back when Duke Mendez was here, and he did a great job with the program. So I just saw that, and as like I said, the job opened up. You know what type of kid is here, and it was appealing, and that's what brought me here.
Oh, yeah, great. So you were coaching when you said Newark Central. First thing that comes to my mind is the Kamala kids.
Yeah, the Camaras, yes.
The Camaras. How was it coaching them when you were there?
It was unbelievable. I coached Amara, the older brother, at Week Wake. I coached at Week Wake from 2004 to 2008. We won a championship in 2006 with Amara Kamara as one of our main guys, and he was just an awesome kid. Still love him to this day. He's just a great person. He was an unbelievable player. And then when we were at Central and Mohammed was coming up, you just saw raw talent. You saw a kid that could be as good as his brother. Didn't want to compare him too much.
Right.
Because sometimes brothers don't always want to be compared to who came before them, especially when they achieved what Amara had achieved.
Right.
But I had coached Mohammed his freshman and sophomore year. I was still at Central. And then I went to the colleges junior and senior year, but kept in touch with those guys. And he was just, you knew he was destined for greatness.
And they made a lot of headway at the college ranks, and I think one of them made it to the pros, for what I understand.
Yeah, Mohammed's with the Miami Dolphins this year. He was drafted in the 5th round. Mara made it to the final cuts with the Kansas City Chiefs back when he came out of Temple. He was a 4-year starter at Temple.
Right.
And then played some arena football, still in great shape. So the Camaras are something special in this area.
Well, yeah, they're legends.
Yes, 100% they are.
So how was it like to coach along the likes of Coach White from Week Wake?
That's my brother, Coach White. Those were 4 of the best years of my life coming together with that staff. Not only because of the success, just thinking you're a good coach, and then you come. And I came from Nutley High School. I was at Nutley for maybe 7 or 8 years at that point.
Yeah.
Coach Kelly again. Coach Kelly, who was at Nutley and Caldwell, is a great friend of mine as well. Once he left Nutley, I went to Week Wake and came with Coach White, and just the discipline, the caring for his players. His whole way was just hard on the guys, but he could be hard on them because the kids knew he loved them and cared for them and had their best interests in mind. And that's kind of some of the ways that I try to do things with my career now.
Well, Coach Strumbolo, what being with that being said, that you have this under your belt, how does that transition to some of the kids here? How is that going to work towards building on the success that they had last year, going to the playoffs, and possibly making it to the playoffs this year if you can make it through there? How does that help your kids and your mentality and your coaching style?
Well, football is about building relationships. So from the day we got the job, that I got the job, and I knew who I wanted to come here with me as coaches, getting to know the players, building relationships, and that's still going on to this day. But I feel as a first year at this program, the relationships are definitely being built. I think the players have trust in the coaches. The coaches have trust in the players, and we're going to keep developing that. What you do last year is very important, and they succeeded. They achieved. They did unbelievable things, and winning that game as a 7 seed over a 2 seed. They were down by a bunch of points and fought their way back and won. It just shows the kind of character that's in this program. And the kind of leadership they had some really good leaders last year. I feel we have the same this year. But the goal is, obviously everyone's goal is to go as far as you possibly can. We're looking to compete, get better, continue to work. Those guys that are first year starters to develop as best we can through the games as we go on. And then at the end of the year, we see where we're at, and we try to make whatever kind of run we're capable of making at that point.
That's cool. Okay. Coach, another thing I have here for you is that I was just doing some simple math here, and I was looking at your roster, and currently you have 5 seniors. Now, what happened was that they were last year you were almost senior heavy.
Yes.
And you graduated most of your class, most of your seniors off, leaving you with roughly 5 seniors this year for leadership. You have 10 juniors, 10 sophomores, and 8 freshmen.
Yes.
So you have a relatively young group this year. What is it about that? How do you transition that into leadership from a young group, from a veteran group to a younger group this year?
Well, the seniors we have are great leaders. The three captains is Luke, Jake, and Brad, and they've done a great job from day one. The freshmen don't feel like freshmen. They automatically come in here and they're part of the program. We're a JV varsity program. We're leaning on these freshmen to help us in any possible way they can, whether it be in practice or on Saturday afternoons or Friday nights. But there's some really good players in that senior class, which isn't huge. But those juniors, sophomores, and freshmen are extremely talented, along with the seniors. So it's just bringing them along, getting them comfortable to the way we're going to do things now. So it's obviously a little different. Every coach is a little bit different. And just getting them to believe in the systems, the adults, the coaches that are coaching them, and move them as far forward as we can.
Well, you mentioned systems. Well, let me ask you this question, because the fact that you mentioned Luke, as in Luke Alzak and
Yes.
Brad Foster. Are those the two kids that you're going to be looking out for, looking to carry the team a little bit on their backs, and when it comes times to the pinch situations where you're in knee deep in the mud and you have to pull out a win? Will you look to them, or will you look at it as a whole group on a?
No, it's a whole group. But Jake Aloya, a returning lineman who I love linemen that are leaders. That's where my heart is with the linemen as well. So number 51 last year, he had a great season last year on defense. I believe had 8 sacks.
Yeah, he did.
Offensive lineman, he was good. Luke, Brad speaks for himself. He was a second team all group 2 defensive back last year. So there's those guys that are good players, and they're becoming really good leaders as well. And we're looking for a whole group effort. The team's about 33, 34 players, which is fine with me, as long as it's 33, 34 guys that love being here, want to work, want to get better, and want to try to make this a special year, especially for those seniors who, to be honest with you, with the seniors, they're on their 3rd coach in 4 years.
Yeah, and that's
they had Trevino when they were Coach Trevino, another great guy. Then they had Coach Mons for a couple of years, and now they have me. So it would be nice for them to have a stable senior year. It'd be nice for the program to have a little bit of a run of someone that wants to stay here and continue to develop.
Well, that was the idea with Mons until certain things opened up for him as well,
Yes.
which I'm not privy to explain, but at the same token, I was well aware of. With that being said, that you're the fourth coach in 4 years, how do you feel, being that it's not necessarily a revolving door, but at the same token, you're actually coming on the heel of possibly bringing a whole new culture into Glen Ridge?
Yeah. You have to. Your plan has to be here and want to be here. It's a great town. Small town, great people, parents I met. People in town are awesome. Facilities are great. Our field house is great. Our field, we're grass. And I'm okay with that. It's a good place to be. It's a place where sometimes coaches want to jump to the next big school or thing like that.
Right.
In my career, I've never been worried about where I am. It's where I am is where I want to be, and you work there until your time is up.
Right.
And it's nothing about this place would make me want to.
Well, the thing is that, and I was saying this last year when I was talking to Coach Mons when I caught up with him. This is one of the few hidden gems in the county.
Yes.
Not too many grass fields, if at all. I think Cedar Grove just converted into a field turf. Recently. So it's not that many actual natural grass fields in the county whatsoever. Everybody's gone to grass turf or some form of it. What do you feel about this being a natural grass field?
Listen, I love it for games and stuff. It's a great field. They do a wonderful job taking care of it. It just gets difficult during practice if you get those rainy days. If you're on turf, as long as the rain stops, you can get on the field.
Right.
Here you get those rain, but the drainage is unbelievable because we had some crazy rain over the weekend. I showed up yesterday thinking, no way.
Yeah.
And I got here and the field was dry. I said, okay, we
can run.
We can do this.
You can run.
But,
right?
With the way you train these days, a lot of chopping your feet. So with a grass field, you do tend to to rip it up a little bit.
Right.
So we do the majority of our drill work in the outfield over there,
in the corner,
and then work on the field for just the spacing and stuff.
Right.
I saw that coming out of the summer. You need to get on the regulation size field,
right,
just for spacing
right,
and things like that. But it's great on the feet. My feet have never felt better being on them a long time on a football field. When you're on turf, your feet hurt. Here, there's grass. It's good for the body.
So I gotta ask this question because the fact that some questions you don't really want to ask, but you gotta ask it anyway. One question I always sometimes ask coaches is what they like in offensive and defensive schemes. Mm-hmm. Most coaches at the high school level run a base 4-4, and right now are in a base spread, if you want to call it like that, with the pistol mixed in, or even some hybrid form of the wishbone, if you want to call it that, or a shotgun for that matter. What do you think will be an optimal format to introduce here, being that these guys are, lunch pail types. They are. I saw Luke play last year. He was definitely one of those squirty guys coming out of the backfield, but yet he can do it all on the outside. He can hurt you on the inside if you needed to. How do you approach that type of player in that respect?
Well, you find the right scheme for the team you have. So
right.
we've been working on things, since we've been here and working, and then we go scrimmage, and then you see if you have to have a base, but then you have to be able to adjust to what you have.
Right.
So we see how we operate. We have about 16 days to our opening game, so you see where you're at with the base stuff you put in. Everyone's some variation of the spread.
Right.
A lot of teams have gone to the odd fronts and not all the 40 looks anymore.
Right.
So we have our base on both sides of the ball, and then once we get into game planning, once we see what we have the capabilities of just tweaking whatever we need to fit the players we have in the program.
Okay.
Like I said, we've watched film. We know what we have with some of the guys that played last year. Yeah. So you have a plan of what you want to do, but ultimately you see how it's formulating now, and then you make the adjustments you need to prepare for week one.
Well, week one, speaking of, that's a good segue. We're going to talk a little bit about your scheduling. Yes. Your schedule, you don't have a week 0 this year.
No.
But at the same time, you're going to be a week behind just about everybody, but you'll still be coming out on time with a straight shot because the fact that your first game is on the 6th of September against Whippany Park.
Yes.
In Whippany Park. Then you're down the hill at your old stomping grounds at North Central. And then after that, you have your first home opener, which is Hanover Park at 1 o'clock, which is generally, most cases, Glen Ridge plays at 12. It was there.
Yeah, it is 12 o'clock.
It is 12 o'clock?
It will be 12.
Okay, so that will be 12. Okay, great. So, and then you got Hoboken as well coming in at 12 o'clock on the 28th. So those first 4 games alone, those are pretty tough. That's a pretty tough schedule coming in. With the exception of Whippany Park. Whippany Park was never really competitive, but yet they tend to surprise people.
They got about 9 guys back on offense, 8 back on defense. So they're definitely a veteran team coming back. Got a nice coach there, good coach.
Yeah.
He's been doing a nice job there to develop that program. That's a good home opener. Not home opener. That's a good opening week game to go up to Whippany Park and compete with them. Like I said, you can't look at the history of the program. You look at where they are and where they're looking to go, and they're definitely a nice program moving forward.
Right. Now, and then you got the Blue Devils, essentially your old stomping grounds. How does that feel to have them on the schedule? Because
their Coach Mark Ingram. I coached him at Weequahic. He came over to Central. He worked with me with offense for all my years that I was there, and then took over that stuff when I left. And that's my guy. He's a great guy. He's worked hard. He's earned everything. He's got a good team coming back too. He's brought a lot of guys back. They're
playoff ready.
Yeah, he's got some good players.
He's got some playoff ready kids. It'll be interesting to
and
see.
he's got a Mara coaching on his staff, Kamara. So,
got one of the Mara's there.
So it'll be an interesting Saturday afternoon at Shabazz to go. But listen, once the game starts, we go hard. When the game's over,
then you all shake hands.
Those are my guys.
Those are your guys, right?
And you wish them well the rest of the way. That's all.
That's all you got to do, right?
Yep.
And then you have then that's Hanover Park. That's an interesting thing because Hanover they always had a relatively conservative style of play, and I saw them a couple years ago against Caldwell, and being that those who are not familiar with their playing style, they hedge on the edge of the grittiness of Essex County, but yet they have that conservativeness of the Morris County small schools, and they're right there on the cusp. How does that even?
They're scrappy and tough like Essex County football. I'll tell you that. And you can't judge based on anything you saw with Caldwell the last couple of years because that team was an unbelievable.
That was a monster of a team.
And they're still going to be very, very well again. But Hanover Park is just a team. It's kind of like when you look at Group 1 football. They might be Group 2. They're 1 or 2. They're just one of them consistent teams that show up, reload every year, not usually a down year. Some years they're a little better than others, but a great coach over there, a guy that's been there for a few years also, always has them ready to play. And definitely, they might not be the biggest kids in the world either, but they're scrappy, they'll hit you, and they play hard.
They have some size over there.
Yeah,
they got some serious size. I think they have a D1 prospect and a D2 prospect over there right now. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do with them. And then you got then on the back half of the schedule, you have Newark Collegiate, Cedar Grove, Verona, and Dwight Morrow. Now, Newark Collegiate, they're still working the kinks out and everything else.
They're always working.
But at the same token, they were fairly competitive with you guys last year when I was there at when they were down the street. This year they're coming to you. I believe
we're going there to Collegiate.
Oh yeah. Okay, you're at Collegiate, so you're down the street again.
School Stadium.
Yeah, School Stadium. So, being what it is, School Stadium being the coup de grace or the hallowed ground that it is for all. I don't care what you say. All area high school football games from Barrington, East Orange to Weequahic and Shabazz to the old Velsburg and West Side games to even when you guys used to come down to play West Side and Newark Central at that point in time, back in the 80s and 90s, early 90s. That's like going back to when I was in high school. I remember those days.
Yeah, me too.
So, what is it about this game? Because the fact that it's a different type of game. It takes on a different air. What is it about this game that brings out the more competitiveness in between the two of you guys? It's almost like a direct rivalry game in a sense.
Yeah. Well, because they're going to show up and play. We're going to be the team on their schedule that they say they have to beat, and they're on our schedule as a team that we say we have to beat. And then both teams show up and usually give their best game that day, historically between the programs. So you're going into that game and you're going to see their best. And you just have to make sure you have your team ready to bring their best as well, and just take care of the football, compete, stay in the game, as we plan to do, and then just be in it to win it, as we get into the second half.
Well, at the same time, when you look at the rest of your schedule, that is nothing but a buzzsaw. That is a buzzsaw. I'm not going to coaches aside and everything else in between. It's just straight up a buzzsaw. You have Cedar Grove at Cedar Grove on their new field, and I think they have a new coach out there as well.
Nah, Coach Goldberg, he's been there. He's been there. He's a great guy, great coach. They're in very good hands, Cedar Grove.
Okay.
With the players they have and the coach and the coaches he has with him, it's a great program.
And now you have the return of Monge.
Yeah.
What is it about that game? I know you guys are gonna be looking forward to it at the same time, because he has nothing but love for the area. He lives right down the street from here. Yes. But same token, what is it about this particular game? Because I know when I saw them play last year, Glen Ridge barely pulled it out at the very last second, in the rain on Luke's touchdown, in fact. And what happens is that Mons was very adamant about getting into the playoffs, getting them to the playoffs at that point in time. Now he's coming back with Verona. What is it about that game for you? What is it being that you're the first-year coach here? How is it that it's going to be something that you can put your stamp on that particular game?
The players are going to put their stamp on it. The coaches lead their team, prepare their team. I'm going to have my players, and not looking ahead because that's so far down the road.
Yeah.
But it's not about me. It's not about Mons. It's not about the adults. It's about the kids going out on the field and competing. The minute I make a football game about me or something with someone else is the minute I'm not really in it for the right reasons.
Right.
So my job's to really prepare my team, let them go out there and compete. They're not going to want to lose to Verona just as they're not going to want to lose to Whippany Park.
Right.
Okay. Now, I'm not saying that they might not be a little bit more juiced up against Verona, this year because it's a guy that coached them and went. But it's going to be my job to keep them level-headed and understand that we just got to go out there and work as hard as we do all the time to compete and be in it. They had a lot of guys back as well, Verona. So he took over a nice little program there. And I'm sure he's doing a great job over there.
Yeah, and
he's a good guy. He's a good coach.
Good coach, yeah.
So you just kind of, once you get to there, you see where you're at. We'll see where they're at, and it's just going to be about preparing our kids to go out there and compete.
And the final game of this season will be against Dwight Morrow, who comes to you guys.
Yes.
They're out of the Englewood area.
Yes.
And it's a team that did not really fare well in the regular before they had to be pushed into the Ivy. They're now coming out of the Ivy. What is it about this game that kind of makes it special for them versus you guys? You guys have been out of the Ivy for a couple of years now. Yeah. So what is it about this game?
Similar, small schools, that area always has some athletes. So they're going to have athletes. They're going to have coaches that work with them. The same thing you say about everything. They went into this off season ready to work, excited about being out of the Ivy, excited about their schedule. I'm sure they looked at it and they look at our game. And again, as a game, they probably feel they have to win, same way as us with all our games. But you'll get some athletes there, and then you see what happens once we scout them and get to that point. It'll already be a long season by that point.
Right.
So we'll see where we're at, where they're at, and do our best to continue to compete.
Also, did you know that Glen Ridge and Dwight Morrow played for the Ivy Championship a couple of years ago? And I think Glen Ridge won that game.
Yes, I believe they won the Ivy a couple of years ago. Yes.
Yeah, and with Dwight Morrow, I think they were looking.
So they'll have a little chip on their shoulder. That's fine.
Yeah, okay.
They should. Listen, whatever you need for motivation, you take.
Take that, right?
That's it. You whatever you need.
So, with that being said, Coach, I always have some fun questions to ask, and I always want to make sure that we're all about letting our motto is let's go have some fun. KSPORT. So, what is it about being a Ridger that expands to you personally?
Being a Ridger, listen, tough kids, tough coach. The Ridgers, like I said, you know a little bit about what they are. I feel I come in with that same kind of mentality. There's toughness. There's no quit. Yeah. In me, there's no quit in a Ridger. Right. So I find that as a common thing between myself and what I have here right now.
Okay. And then you mentioned Luke, you mentioned Brad, you mentioned the other number 51, Jake. And who else do you have that you would want us to take a look at, or actually have an idea where scouts were coming to look at for the next levels? Who will be somebody to be?
Thomas Barton is a returning offensive lineman. He'll be playing linebacker for us. Alex Bowman will be our center. He's a junior, so these are some younger guys. Zach Kowinski, I gotta say his name right. Yeah, Zach is Zach to me is someone that definitely should be watched this year. From what I've seen from him, with what he did, he runs track, so he has great times in track. He's a kid that's here every day working hard. he just has a lot of skill, and he's just a coachable kid and a hard-working kid.
And who's going to be the kid that has that pop? That is going to, so if they're going in and they're in, say, on defense, whether they're playing linebacker, defensive back, or even on the front four, on the edge or something, and you're turning your head and all you hear is is that person by the way they hit that person, the opposing player. Who would that be?
Well, with the hitting, it's different. With the mouth, I'm still looking for that guy that's going to get in there and dig in and just get those juices flowing with that. But with the hitting, it's probably a combination of a little bit of all of them. I think our safeties are going to be looking to fly in and close things down. That's like Zach and Luke.
Yeah.
Our corners aren't going to be afraid to make some contact.
Right.
Our linebackers. With Thomas in there, Kid Hunter, Kid Colin, and some other guys that have been working hard, and then up front, those guys are the ones that we're trying to get them mean and nasty. They're nice kids. We got to get them mean and nasty in between the whistles, which is happening.
Well, you know what it is that the nice kids are always the meanest ones. You just got to figure out how to get them there, right?
Yeah.
So with that being said, I noticed when I drove past you a couple of days ago, you had some pretty decent size. Would you say that your average height is somewhere around 6'2", 6'3", somewhere around there?
No, definitely.
It's not.
Nah, maybe like 5'11" or so.
5'11", okay.
Average height. A couple guys maybe at the 6 foot mark or so.
Okay.
But no, we're not. We're not towers.
You're not towers.
We're going to be guys. We're going to take our pride in just getting off the ball and getting into people.
Lunch pail types.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Lunch pail
the
types.
mentality. That's what we need.
Okay, Coach. Well, one or two more questions I have for you is, with all this that we have to offer here at Glen Ridge, what was your coaching style as an assistant? How's that going to transition to being a head coach today? And how that, with your college experience under your belt as well, how does that transition to the kids as well?
I feel like I've always been a good assistant. I was a head coach at Belleville for a few years, so I had that experience. But I always felt like I was a loyal assistant, that whatever was needed. I feel like I have guys here that are doing the same as far as coaches, and be able to lead players and lead the men and the coaches that are coaching, but give them an opportunity to coach the way they're capable of coaching, not micromanage everything. Like I said, give the coaches an opportunity to be creative with their drills and with the development of their players, but ultimately making sure everything comes together as one at the end of that.
Okay, Coach. Well, then also with us being here, we'll wish you a successful season on your first year here.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Glad that you to hear and discuss certain things in your background from coaching. I did not know that you was coaching at Belleville at one point in time. I actually was there a few years back as well, but I did not know that was you.
I think I was 8, 9, and 10. I was at Belleville.
Okay, that was right around that time. I was a little bit after that. I came in. I did some filming over there, but at the same token, Coach, one last question. If you had the opportunity to coach an ideal kid out of Glen Ridge and get them to the best school possible, like one of the big schools like Alabama or someplace like that, how would that feel to you?
It'd be amazing. I've done it, at other places, and here just to get that kid. I mean, we obviously know you need the double S's, you need the size or speed. So you got to get that kid that's either, extremely fast or extremely big to get that opportunity. But having a successful program and stability here will keep some of those kids here in Glen Ridge, as opposed to going out to other places, because Glen Ridge this town does have many players that are playing big time football right now, but they just didn't play their high school football at Glen Ridge. They played for our great youth program, the Red Dogs, and then they went on to somewhere else, those big elite athletes. So my job is to create a stable program here, see those players in the feeder program, so that next great one that may be here right now or may be coming up in a few years decides to stay in Glen Ridge and realize they could have the same opportunities coming out of here as they can if they go to one of those other places to play their high school ball. And just get them to understand that. A lot of scholarships are won at camps in the summer, not necessarily in the games during the season. Now, you have to be a stud during the season and stand out. But a lot of those Division I offers are coming from summer camps, 40-yard times, one-on-one competitions there. So trying to get some of those
combines
guys,
and during the course of the year
doing
as well.
all that, and get those elite guys to stay, make us what we want to become, and then get those opportunities to go on. We're one of the best school districts in the state of New Jersey, so we got to make our football program similar to become a program that people want to come see and play for.
Well, Coach, I want to say congratulations on everything you're looking to succeed with. And one thing you mentioned as far as your feeder program, I noticed that they do have size on that team.
Yes.
They do have some kids coming up into your program. With that being said, Coach, I would like to say welcome aboard.
I appreciate it.
Welcome aboard, and we will be somewhere in the neighborhood driving around. Hey, don't feel free to reach out to us one way or another. We will definitely give you some ways to reach out to us. That way you can always stay abreast what's happening here. Until next time, everybody, we'd like to say thank you for tuning in with Glen Ridge's new head coach, Chris Strumbolo, and I am Kerry Porter, talking to you soon. We're heading out to our next stop. We'll talk to you soon later. All right.
Thank you.
Let's go have some fun, kids. KSPORT.